Welcome to the Bookworm Duo, where we explore a variety of books so you can find your next read. Let's get started. Today we're diving deep into Megan Nolan's Ordinary Human Failings. A book that's anything but ordinary, wouldn't you say?
You're absolutely right. It's so richly layered and really stays with you. It makes you think about how the past shapes who we are.
Right, and for our listener who might not be familiar with the book, can you set the stage? What's the mystery that starts it all off?
Well, it opens with a young girl, Mia, who is found dead. And suspicion falls on another child, Lucy. It's a gripping start, for sure. Throws you right into the tension.
And as the book goes on, Nolan takes us back in time to Waterford, Ireland. I'm guessing that's where we start to learn about the family's history and how it connects to this tragedy.
Exactly. Nolan does this amazing job of weaving together two timelines, past and present. It shows just how deeply the past can influence the present. We meet Lucy's mother, Carmel. She's struggling to connect with her daughter, and you can tell she's haunted by something from her past.
Carmel is a fascinating character from what I've read. Incredibly complex and full of contradictions. What can you tell us about her?
Well, when we go back to Carmel's teenage years in Waterford, we uncover this intense secret relationship she had with a man named Derek, older man,
Oh.
and it's full of passion, but also manipulation and a clear power imbalance.
It really gets you thinking, about those youthful choices we make and how much those experiences can impact us later in life.
Yeah, and the way Nolan contrasts the younger Carmel, vibrant and manipulative, with the withdrawn mother she is now is fascinating. Really raises the question about, well, how much our past selves influence who we are today?
It's like we can't escape those consequences,
Hmm.
or even who we once were. Now, we've talked about Carmel, but there are a few other important characters in this family, right? What can you tell us about Lucy's grandfather, John, and her uncle Richie?
Yeah, both John and Richie add their own complexities to the story. John is haunted by a past relationship. His marriage ended under a cloud of suspicion and regret.
And Richie, he's battling alcoholism, right?
Yeah.
Which makes remembering the day Mia disappeared difficult, adding to the suspense.
Exactly. His struggles with addiction become, well, a really significant part of the investigation, creates doubt, and makes you question what he may or may not have seen, or what he might be suppressing. It's amazing how Nolan really captures the feel of life in Waterford, Ireland, back in the 70s and 80s. Like, it's not just about these characters.
Oh, absolutely. It's like the setting is another character almost, really shaping everyone's lives.
Exactly. Like John, he really longs for that simpler time before the Troubles. It says so much about how those kinds of changes, those societal changes, can really impact people.
And then there's Carmel, finding herself pregnant back then. The stigma around that, you really feel the pressure on her, on women in general back then, the limited choices and those harsh judgments.
It's a stark reminder of, well, how much things have changed, but also how some things, those really deep-rooted expectations can stick around, even across generations.
Okay, so we've talked about these characters and their pasts, but let's shift back to the present-day mystery for a minute. What happens to the investigation after Lucy's taken in for questioning?
Things get even more complicated and intense. The media gets involved, and this journalist named Tom, he becomes really central to the story. He's ambitious, maybe even a little ruthless, and he sees this case as his ticket to the big time.
The classic journalist, hungry for a story.
Uh,
It felt like he could cause some real problems for the Green family.
Oh, he does, for sure. He manipulates them, offers them money, shelter, all in exchange for exclusive access to their story. The family's vulnerable, reeling from everything that's happened, and they get caught up in his web.
That's it's a powerful dynamic to explore. This journalist preying on their vulnerability makes you question the ethics of it all.
Nolan does it so well, though. You see the family's distrust and how they're trying to control the story, but they also cooperate, out of this need to protect Lucy, to clear her name.
Must be so much pressure on them. Dealing with the grief of losing Mia, the suspicion around Lucy, and then this journalist on top of it all.
Right. And as Tom digs deeper, he uncovers more secrets, more things that don't add up. He becomes so obsessed with the truth, but it becomes clearer and clearer that truth in this story is pretty slippery.
So we have these parallel investigations going on, right? The police trying to figure out what happened to Mia and this journalist trying to expose the family must be incredibly tense for the reader.
It is. Nolan really knows how to build suspense. Just when you think you're getting close to the truth, bam, another twist. Makes you question everything you thought you knew.
So we've talked about a lot of heavy stuff, the past, family secrets, and this search for the truth. But is there any hope in this story? Like, do these characters ever find a way to heal, to move forward?
That's a really great question, and it's what makes this book so powerful, I think. Even with all this pain and loss, Nolan shows us that healing is possible, that we can grow, that people are resilient.
I'm curious, where do you see that hope in the story?
Well, with Carmel, I think it's when she goes back to Waterford. That's a huge step for her. She confronts her past, comes to terms with the choices she made, and starts to rebuild her relationship with Lucy.
It sounds like a real journey for her. For both of them, really. A way to break free from all that pain and secrecy.
Exactly. And while their relationship is still, well, complicated, you can sense they're both trying, putting in the effort to understand each other and move on. It's not about forgetting what happened, but finding a way to live with it.
Yeah, healing takes time. It's not something that just happens overnight. It's a process. What about John? Does he find any peace?
I think John finds a kind of peace in accepting the past, even the mistakes he's made. He starts to let go of that guilt and regret he's been carrying for so long.
Sounds like he's finally able to just be present, to live in the moment instead of dwelling on the past.
And it's not that he's forgetting or saying those mistakes were okay, but he finds a way to, well, integrate them into his story, learns from them, and moves forward. Even Richie, his story is really tragic, but even he takes a step toward healing.
You're talking about his decision to quit drinking, right?
Yeah, it may seem small, but it shows he wants to change, to take control of his life, even if he doesn't know what the future holds.
Like even in the darkest times, we can still find that strength within ourselves.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into ordinary human failings, what are some key things you want our listeners to think about? What makes this book resonate with people?
I think it forces us to see that, we're all capable of those ordinary human failings. None of these characters are, like, evil. They're just products of their environment, their experiences, the choices they make, and the pressures they face.
It reminds us that life's messy. People are complicated, and we all make mistakes.
Right. And it asks us to question our own ideas about truth and guilt and innocence. There are so many perspectives in this story.
It's a book that really sticks with you, makes you think about your own experiences and how complex people are. Well, thanks for joining us. Subscribe to our channel for more bookish adventures, and hit that like button if you enjoyed the ride. Don't forget to share the knowledge, and we'll see you on the next episode.